Circumference is the distance around a circle. So it's perimeter for a circle. If you were to take this circle and unwind it so it was straight, it would have the distance called circumference. There's a formula that we use for circumference, and it's the circumference is equal to pi times the diameter, or remember that two radii make up one diameter. So 2 times pi times the radius is also the same formula for circumference. The circumference of the circle, we first would identify whether or not we have a radius or a diameter, and in this case we have a radius of 13. So we're going to use the formula 2 pi r. So we take 2 of the radii, 2 times the radius, times pi. So it would be 26 times pi. If we wanted that as a decimal form, we would type in 26 times pi. And there is a button on your calculator for pi. It's right above this arrow key up here. So we would hit second and then arrow up. It gives us the symbol for pi, which is equivalent to 3.14 repeating. So this would be 81 point to the nearest tenths, 7. So we want to get in the habit of writing both answers, 81.7. Alright, so number 1, they give us the radius is 4. That means the diameter, remember the radius is half of a diameter. So if this is 13, the diameter would be 13 times 2, which is 26. So if the radius is 4, the diameter would be 8. And the circumference would be 2 times the radius times pi, which would be 8 pi, or 8 times pi is 25 point to the nearest tenths, 1. Okay, if you're given the diameter starts from the center and goes to both endpoints on the circle. So the diameter, if it's 6, then the radius would be half of that, 3. And the circumference, we can do pi times diameter, or 6 pi. And to see what that is in terms of a decimal, 6 times pi would be 18.8. Alright, so I'd like for you to pause the video and try number 3 and 4 on your own, seeing if you get what I... Okay, and these are the answers that you should have gotten on 3 and 4. If you didn't, raise your hand or ask a neighbor. Okay, arc length refers to how much of the circle we have in relationship to how much of the circle is total. So an arc length is going to be a direct proportion. So the easiest way is to start with, on the denominator, what you know about a circle in terms of length and degrees. Well, we know that the length around the circle is 2 pi r, and the degrees of a circle is 360. So our job is to figure out the arc length, and then given how many degrees that arc length represents. So the arc measure will go on the numerator here. So let's do an example number 1. It says the diameter of the circle O is 24 units long. So that means that the radius is 12. To find the length of the arc for each given angle measure, we first set up a proportion for each problem. DOE, angle DOE is 120. So since this is a central angle, the arc length, or arc measure, is also 120. Then we want to look for arc length of DE. So first, arc length is x, we'll call it x, over 2 pi r, where our radius in this case was 12. And that's going to equal how much of the circle arc DE represents in terms of degrees. So DE is 120 degrees out of 360 degrees possible. So let's simplify down here. 2 pi times 12 is the same thing as 24 pi, so I'm just going to erase this and replace it with 24 pi. And then I'm going to cross multiply. When you cross multiply, do not put pi in your calculator. We're going to leave our answer in terms of pi, meaning how many pi referencing to our arc length. So we're going to cross multiply, but we're only going to cross multiply 24 and 120. So 24 times 120 is 2,880 times pi, because remember we didn't put pi in our calculator. That equals 360 times x. Now we would just take 2,880 and divide it by 360. And we're not going to put pi in our calculator again. So we take 2,880 and divide it by 360, which is 8 times pi. That's going to equal x. So the arc length of DE is 8 pi. So it's 8 pi out of the 24 pi possible, because the whole circle here is 24 pi. Alright, I'd like for you to try number 2 on your own. It's going to be the same as number 1. Pause the video and see if you get what I get. You will have to find out one of the missing angle measures first. Okay, and you should have gotten the answer is 14 pi. If you didn't get that and you're not sure how to, raise your hand or ask a neighbor. Okay, and we're going to do the last example together, number 3. If you think you can handle this without me, pause the video and then just fast forward to the answer and see if you get what I get. So we want to look for the length of arc AE. So our first job is to figure out what the arc measure is, which is 90 degrees, because the central angle is 90 degrees. And of course the radius is 12, diameter is 24. They already told us that information in the beginning. So arc length is a direct proportion. Arc length x divided by 2 pi r is equal to the arc measure that was given to us over 360 degrees possible. So x is what we're looking for. 2 times the radius is 2 times 12, which is 24, times pi, equals the arc measure. Well, the arc measure of reference here is 90 degrees out of 360 possible. So cross multiplying, we're going to take 24 times 90 only, and we're going to leave the pi out off to the side. So 2160 is 90 times 24, all times pi, equals 360 times x. So we're going to divide both sides by 360 degrees. So 2,160 divided by 360 gives me 6 times pi, which is equal to our arc length of arc AE. Okay, so this is everything that we've learned dealing with length of a circle in terms of the whole circle length and just a portion of the circle length. The next video that you'll be watching will be on area of a circle and area of a portion of a circle. So move on to video number 2.